Please put your hands together for Joe Stockdale and Flospis Jones. Joe, starting with you, the Tim Stockdale Foundation, it is a wonderful charity and I think many of us here know quite a bit about it, but if there's people here that maybe don't, just give us a brief introduction to the wonderful work that you guys have been doing.
So basically the charity was set up from my dad. He felt very, very strongly about aiding young people in sport and aiding their progression in sport, because it is a really tough sort of business to make it in. So we set it up in the chance and the hope that we could raise a bit of money and then help people, not just in the riding, but all sorts of sport, whether it's cricket, rugby, football, everything, and even down to things such as getting to the games or whatever it is. There's always ways to aid it, not necessarily what you think of initially.
Fantastic, and I think many of us again will know the wonderful things that you've been doing recently. I know you've got the golf day coming up, I think it's on Tuesday, and the run that you did at Hickstead. How much have you raised so far?
Well, I know we were definitely over 50,000 at Hickstead alone.
Yes.
And then we've got the golf day coming up on Tuesday, which we've had masses of teams. I think we've got 20 odd teams now.
Wow.
I think we've been 2 extra just from this show. So we're definitely in quite a bit of money now.
And if people are sitting here thinking, okay, we've heard about this golf day, it is such a good cause, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to sign up, Joe, how do they go about that?
So basically, if you get on to, we have a Just Giving page for the Tim Stockdale Foundation. Get onto there, and then obviously you can donate as much of it as you want, or just get in touch with me directly, and I'll point you in the right direction for what you're looking for, basically.
Fantastic. And your dad, Tim Stockdale, was probably one of the greatest show jumpers in our sport, no doubt about that. But on a personal level, what is it exactly that he meant to you, and how did he inspire you?
Well, I don't really know where to start. I mean, he didn't grow up with a horsey background, so everything he built up from himself, and he started on his own. But he sort of instilled in me, I suppose, a lot of determination and not giving up, and you've got to do all the hard yards to actually get to where you want to be. It's not an easy road up to the top, or whether it's in this sport or any sport. It's a lot of hard work behind it.
And in terms of his famous saying, "There's no such word of can't," how many times do you remind yourself of that?
I've heard that saying more times than you could possibly imagine. Never ending. But I think it sticks with me a lot. And when things are getting a bit difficult, or things aren't going your way at home or at a show, or whatever it is, you can always sort of think back to that. And there's always a way, as long as you keep trying and keep going about your stuff the way you want to do, and you'll get there eventually.
Fantastic. We know he was so passionate about sports, golf, equestrianism, to name 2 of those, but what other sports was he interested in?
Our family basically is completely revolved around sport. No matter what was on the TV, golf, football, cricket, rugby, everything, we'd watch it. we were into any sport. He was a massive fan of cricket as well, and I played a lot of cricket, and he'd come and watch. He really enjoyed that side of it. Like I say, any sport for us, we just absolutely love it.
Floss, coming to you next. Social media is a massive thing with any charity, and pushing that out there. People here, again, how can they get involved through social channels?
Well, Joe's quite active on his social media, so if you just send him a message on Instagram or Facebook, he'll get back to you and let you know how to get involved. But one of the things he's had to learn so quickly with a growing following on social media is how to have such a professional presentation of himself on those platforms, and I think that's something that's so important to the charity as well as Joe, to present themselves well on social media and everywhere, so that they can be this professional background that they have.
And social media within sport is something that's emerging. It's very different to how it was sort of 5 years ago. But for young riders, and I can see there's a lot of people from the Pony Club here and young talent, emerging talents, how important is social media within sport today?
I mean, it's almost the be-all and end-all.
Yeah.
It's where everyone starts off now. It's the go-to. You search someone's name, you look them up, and with so many people kind of almost like posting on their stories and tagging you, you have to remember that people are watching you from all directions at the moment. So it is really important to make sure he's switched on in that aspect, and I'm like here to help slightly, but he does most of it himself, and that's why he is so good at it now. We actually had like a few questions asked from Instagram that people like they want to know more about you, and it's so nice. It's an easy way to connect with people. But yeah, no, it's a good platform to get your message across.
And in terms of Tim in your life, I know you've been a friend of the family for many, many years. What is it again he meant to you? He inspired every one of us here in this room, but you personally, knowing him maybe better than many of us will.
Gosh, I've grown up with like the family. Me and Joe started in Pony Club together. We did the Prince Philip Cup games here in 2013, and like we've been friends forever. But Tim was such an important figure in like my grounding. He's taught me so much, and like everything that Joe kind of has, his like performance and everything is all because of Tim, and it's all because of the hard work that Tim kind of grilled into him, and that's been grilled into everyone around him. So the foundation is now wanting to help people have that start with the sports that they couldn't get elsewhere.
And I think, as you said, getting the start in the sport is something that Tim was massive on, and in many ways that is one of the big goals of the charity, Joe, isn't it? In terms of people that want to get funding and want to get the most out of this wonderful foundation, how do they go about it?
Well, we've had a couple sort of, applications for people who are looking for funding, or people who we think are worthy or would benefit from the funding. Like we made a big donation to the Riding for the Disabled, and we donated a lot of fences for them so they could actually participate in a bit of show jumping, because that was an area where they just set up this new facility but they didn't have any show jumps or anything like that. So we have to order those in, get some specially made show jumps so that they can actually participate and start off in that sport. Otherwise, you don't know who you're missing out on if they never get the opportunity to start off in the first place.
Yeah, and opportunities within sport are a massive thing. You're here yourself this week competing in the international classes. How important for you as a young rider is it to get the exposure, to get out there and get invited to these bigger shows?
Oh, it's massive. I think you learn so much from coming to these shows. It's not just necessarily the technicality of the courses or the jumping, but everything from jumping in front of a big crowd. The atmosphere makes a massive difference. You and the horse, and you've got to be able to perform under a bit of pressure. When a lot of people are watching, and there's no escaping if you make a mistake. So it's a massive thing you need to do. Actually, get yourself out there, get into the bigger shows, which it isn't the easiest thing to do nowadays. But you just got to keep pushing and try and get that exposure to the big stage, I suppose.
Fantastic, and we're here at Horse of the Year show. The charity is fantastic, the crowds are great. What's it like riding into that arena?
Oh, it's unbelievable. When you walk in, the atmosphere is mental, and actually you get all the crowd going, and it just gives you this buzz when you go in there. And you feel that the horses, they sort of liven up a bit as well, and I think they really feed off that bit of atmosphere, that bit of energy. And it's an amazing experience. It's unlike anywhere else.
And in terms of, you think about the families that have been involved in the sport for years, the big names, the Whitakers, the Valois, the Broad, and the Stockdales. Is there any pressure when you ride into the ring and your surname's Whitaker, or in your case, Stockdale?
I suppose there is. I think when you think about it, I think you've got to not try and think about that too much, otherwise you'll start doubting yourself. But I think what I try and do is I ride and I try and think back, I've done all the training, I've done all my preparation, I'm ready to be here, I've done the things I need to do to get to this point, so I'm not going to try and put any pressure on myself at this last minute, and just try and stay relaxed and do what you can do.
And then going back to the early days of how you came through the sport, Pony Club, they're here with us, massive part of the show. How important was the Pony Club and the friendships that you made there?
Oh, massive. I think I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Pony Club. Because in the early years, for a long time, I was just I did my riding for a bit of fun. I never took it too seriously. I wasn't thinking from the very start that I'm going to be a rider. That's what I want to do. I just had fun with it, and I did everything from the triathlon, mountain games, cross country, show jumping. I think I did one dressage test, but I got eliminated.
Only one.
Yeah, got eliminated. So I didn't do that again. But at the Pony Club, and I think you make all your friends there, and it doesn't feel like training. It doesn't feel like you're learning, but you get there and you have a load of fun. You go, to Pony Club camp or whatever it is, the rallies, and actually you learn so much, but it doesn't feel like you're actually putting in the work. So just having a laugh with your friends along the time.
I suppose it's amazing to see, you know, what your dad did for the sport, but also what your mum's done. You know, she's a massive part of the yard and like keeping things ticking over at home when your dad was jumping, and now when you are as well. How important is it to have supportive parents within our sport?
Oh, massive. And I think, you know, you can't do it with parents that necessarily push you too much. There's too much pressure on you, because then when you do canter into that ring, you suddenly feel the pressure 100 times more. But, you know, my parents have never pushed me. My mum's never pushed me to, you know, you've got to be doing this or that, whatever. It's always just been, you know, run by myself, what I want to do, and just enjoy my riding and my cricket and all sports. But you've got to have a good team and a good set of parents behind you to, you know, support you.
And was there any pressure going up to get into riding, or was it very much, if this is your sport, go for it? We know that your brother's massively involved with golf and things like that. So was there that pressure, or was it very much your decision?
Not at all. I mean, I had my first pony, and it was a little games pony, and I just did a bit of games. I did, you know, pony club camp and did the other bits and bobs there, but there was absolutely no pressure for me to, you know, to be out there and riding, and, you know, got to ride 5 a day or whatever. It's just, you know, as and when you fancy it, and just enjoy it, just have a bit of fun. There's no rush to start jumping massive fences and doing all these big courses and big pony stuff early on. I think, you know, if you enjoy it and actually keep working at it, through time you're going to get there eventually. There's no rush to sort of, you know, get up to the top as soon as possible. I've got to be here because that person's there or whatever, and looking at other people and thinking you're behind. Because my dad, you know, he said he'd never jumped to 130 till he was over 18 at least. And so there's no rush to get there. Eventually, if you keep going, it's not a sport where you run out of time either.
Definitely not.
So.
I suppose that leads me on to my next question is, you know, you're only young, you're starting out, and I asked the Fletcher boys when they were here, how important is it to have good owners and good sponsors? You think of the people that have supported you for many years, your dad and his career and yours, how important are they?
Owners are so important, and the sponsors as well. I wouldn't be here this week if I didn't have the owners or the support and the backing from that side of it as well. Because, you know, financially you can't necessarily own all your own horses, or it's very difficult to. So you need that support, and, you know, you need your sponsors for everything else. And, you know, that I've got a lovely set of team. I've got some really long-term owners that are just, you know, so supportive, and they're not one of those where you come out the ring and if you've made a mistake they're going to be on top of you. You know, I have to say my owners and my sponsors are just, you know, amazing. I really can't thank them enough for what they do.
It's fantastic. Starting out in sport, and you're only young, in terms of the ponies and the horses that are making your career, if you had to pick maybe a pony and a horse, which would they be?
for what's made the difference for me, do you think?
Yes, what's propelled you forward? Which ones have sort of changed your career?
So I had a very good pony called Twilight Blue, and I had her for many years, and actually with her I did everything still. I didn't do games, but I did the triathlon, cross country, dressage and show jumping, and, you know, I just did a lot with her, and she was such a great pony. I could just go and enjoy myself, and she gave me a load of confidence. She wasn't one of those where she, you know, knocks your confidence, or if you make a mistake she always get you out of trouble. And she just taught me so much. And then for the horse, it's probably the little grey horse I've got here, Romeo he's called in the stable, or Gunner in the ring. I've had him for the last 4 years, and I don't think I'd be riding now if I hadn't had him, because, I mean, he's just done so much for me. It's just, you can't put into words how much he's done for me in my career, and, you know, where I am. He came here last year. He'd only jumped, well, to qualify we jumped our first 1 metre 50 at the national championships, and then he came here and jumped clear in the 160 Grand Prix. And I think, you know, to do that, he just gave me that confidence that, you know, you can actually do this, and you've got, you know, what you need, and sort of proved to me that I had the possibility to do this job, and without him I definitely wouldn't be here now.
And in terms of career highlights, you know, you've represented our country, as you said, jumping clear here last year in that big Grand Prix coming up on Sunday night. Are there any other highlights, or what would be your proudest achievement to date?
I mean, representing your country is always amazing, and to be able to get on a junior team with Gunner or Romeo, and then actually to jump in the Europeans and the Young Riders team this year was amazing. And I think it's tough to beat that. Representing your country, it's something really, really special. But then again, coming to a show like this on the big stage in front of so many people and be able to go well there, that's massive, and it's a really great feeling to be able to, you know, perform in a difficult environment.
Fantastic. Floss, over to you to talk a bit more about the charity, because that's one of the reasons why we're here, about the wonderful work of the Tim Stockdale Foundation. Looking ahead over the next 6 months, year and 2 years, what are the plans?
Well, on Tuesday we've got a golf day at Woburn Golf Club, and that with an auction afterwards, and we've got about 250 people coming to that. That is to hopefully raise as much money as possible so that next year we can kickstart the bursaries for individual situations and people. So we're going to set up a application form that will be on our website and social media, and everyone can apply for a bursary. We'll go through all the applications, and depending how much money we raise, we'll send the money, and it'll go towards, if people can't afford to get the bus to training, or they need some extra help with some more coaching, it'll go towards that side of things, and hopefully we can really help those individual cases.
Fantastic. And the application process, talk us through that as well. Just, how do people get onto the website, and how do they send the forms into yourselves?
So the form will be on the timstockdale.co.uk website. It'll also, we've got an email copy, so if you send any of Joe or the foundation's social media, just send them a message and we'll be able to send you over the form. We then, everyone working in the foundation will go through all of the forms, all of the applications, and as soon as we kind of feel like there's one that we really could make a difference with, all the money that we've raised will go straight towards those.
In terms of differences you've made so far, what big changes? I know, Joe, you mentioned earlier about the things, the fences and things you've donated, but what else have you done in the meantime, the interim?
The biggest things we've done this year was focusing on fundraising.
Yeah.
We've really gone hard with fundraising as soon as the foundation got set up, and our next plan now that we've actually got some money in the bank is to start this application process and help these individual cases. We also had the Urban Equestrian Academy come round, which was to do with Olympia as well, and they came for a day. There was 12 children, about 12 children, who are all from the inner cities and don't get to ride every day, don't have access to it. They came round, Joe gave them all a lesson on 3 ponies. They had 5 different lessons. They jumped, they don't get to ride often. It was such an amazing thing. They got a tour of the yard, they got a lesson from our farrier, they got a lesson from Spillers, who are Joe's nutritionist and sponsor feed, and they just absolutely loved it, and it was so nice to see their faces light up. And at the end of the day, the best thing was Joe gave out some of his hats that didn't fit him anymore, some old joggers, and things that, all of his grooming stuff, and gave them to each of the kids, and literally the smiles on their faces were just incredible. And
talk us through the Spillers feedback and that little sticker. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Spillers has been a big sponsor of Joe and Tim from day one, and it's so lovely that this year, when you buy a pack of feed, some of the money is going to go straight to the foundation. So it's so nice that everyone within the industry is helping out the foundation, which is going to help so many young people in sport eventually.
Can we give them a round of applause? The work that this family have done already is absolutely incredible. It really is. There's lots more to come. Joe, we'll go back to you. Olympia this year, charity partners. How proud are you of that?
Yeah, it's amazing. I was so surprised that Olympia, came along to us and said, they'd be happy to take the charity as they're giving charity this year, and it's a massive opportunity. It's such a massive show there as well, and we get so many people in. So yeah, it's great sort of publicity for the charity.
Fantastic. So upcoming events we've discussed. Tim, your dad himself, what was he most passionate about within equestrian sports?
I think he, from all aspects, just wanted to make the sport better. He wanted to make the sport bigger, get more people involved, and I suppose, obviously helping young people, like I've already mentioned, and try and help them up in the sport, because it is difficult. But he just wanted to try and improve the sport as much as he could. Get more people involved and get it sort of larger like it used to be. And I think that was sort of his main focus, is just little improvements here and there to try and make it better.
Fantastic. Anybody have any questions at this stage about the wonderful work of the charity, or to Joe about coming up as a young talented rider, how he's got to where he's got, anything about the family, the charity, anything at all, please ask questions, because this is the opportunity to find out more about the wonderful work that they do. If you have, raise your hand and I'll pop over with a microphone and then you can ask a question. There must be someone that's being shy out there.
If not, we've got the, so we've had a few people on Instagram asking a few questions as well.
Go ahead. Floss or Joe, whoever wants to answer them.
Okay, so what's the highest you've ever jumped?
So last year, one of the horses I've got here actually jumped the 5 fence challenge and he won it. I think the last fence was about 185 last year, so yeah, he's a big scopy horse, that one, and I've got him in it tomorrow as well, so fingers crossed for that.
How long have you been riding horses for?
Well, I've been riding all my life. I can't really remember a time that I wasn't riding, or wasn't around the horses at least. So yeah, just as long as I can remember.
Your favourite event, if you don't say HOYS?
Yeah, no, I think I'd have to say HOYS. Not just because I'm here either, but to be able to come here and jump the international and get in that ring in front of that crowd is just, yeah, you can't beat it.
How do you get your horses used to different and scary fillers?
So as our horses are, being broken in and learning at the start when they're sort of young, 4 or 5, we slowly start to incorporate the fillers, and so we start off with a single fence just with a few poles, and then we maybe have the fillers just to the side, just so they see that they're there, and then slowly inch them in and just gently sort of get them used to the fillers and get them used to those sort of spooky offences. So when they come to them in a course, they're actually confident and they've seen it all before, and it's not something new and really scary to them. They've been gently sort of getting used to it, really.
Did you ever do pony show jumping on HOYS?
No, I didn't. I never did any serious pony show jumping. I did, like I said, a lot of pony club stuff, a lot of fun stuff, but I never got to that top level. I was never jumping here like these guys on the pony show jumpers do, because that stuff's really, really impressive, and there's some huge fences in there for some little ponies. So, but no, I never did any of that thing.
What was your first pony?
My first pony was a little 12-tool pony called Miss Muffet. She was a games pony, but she did do a little bit of other stuff as well.
What was your highlight when you were here in 2013 with the Pony Club Games? And was it the worm suit?
I think that year I was an ostrich once, running up and down the ring, and then I was also a worm as well. I think the worm suit was a bit more flattering.
What's the next question? Your favourite riding memory?
Favourite riding memory? I've got lots of really great memories from the Pony Club and the Pony Club camp. Just being around with your friends and actually having a bit of a laugh with them and not taking it too seriously. But I suppose it's between that and then again here last year, jumping clear in that Grand Prix with that atmosphere was just amazing.
And how would you produce a young horse up to the level of jumping competitively?
So when we start our young horses, obviously they come, they're unbroken. So we get them, riding on the saddle, get them on the lunge really, really slowly. We don't try and rush our young horses at all, because as soon as you start to put too much pressure on them, then that's when they sort of go the other way and they'll get a bit scared of it. So we don't want to do any of that with them. So we really take our time, get them on the saddle, on the lunge without a rider, and then slowly build it up, get someone on, and then they'll loose jump and do something really simple to start, over a couple of poles, and then maybe go pole and then it's 4 strides up to another fence, down a little, not necessarily tunnel, but they've got a really straight, simple line to go down, and they just slowly start to get the idea of jumping, start to get the feel of jumping, and actually get used to it, and it's not so scary when they come to jump. It's not a big event. It's just they've done it all before, they're used to it, and then hopefully they still keep going and keep jumping bigger and bigger, and then blossom into a good show jumper in the end.
This is one of my favourite questions. What would your advice be for someone who's a great rider, but as so many people do, doesn't have the horsepower behind them?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and that's where we touch back on the owners and the sponsors as well, because they're so important in this sport, to help fund you and help give you that support. But I think what's a good idea is obviously if you've got that talent as a rider, you've got to maybe go to a professional yard, and even if you start working for a top professional at the time, you're gonna get lots of learning off them, but then you're hopefully gonna get a couple of rides alongside that. And even if you start off with young ones, but then you're out doing a good job. And I suppose get your name out there, get to a good top professional rider, and then the owners and the sponsors are going to come your way eventually. You're going to keep pushing yourself, keep getting your name out there, and then people eventually are going to see you've got a bit of talent, and then hopefully they're going to put a bit of trust in you and hopefully give you a ride or a bit of money to invest in the horse.
And what's your favourite thing about horses?
Yeah, I suppose it's the connection you can have with the horses. I suppose in that situation it's different to any other sport. If you're holding a cricket bat or throwing a rugby ball, there's not that cricket bat or the rugby ball doesn't really have any feelings. So I think the more and more you get to know your horses, you get to know their personalities and the way they are, and then you can, you have to suit the way you ride them to the horse. You can't ride every horse the same because they won't all go the same. They're all different people, different horses, different personalities. So that's the main thing. They've all got different personalities. You've got to work with them. As soon as you start to fight them and try and get them into, get them used to you rather than you get used to them, that's when things start going a bit pear-shaped because they don't know they've got to change. That's just the way they are. So yeah, and the more and more I'm getting to know the sport, the more and more you get to learn about different horses and their personalities, and then hopefully you start riding better when you understand the horse a bit more.
And your best advice for someone who's coming off ponies and now going onto horses?
I think my best advice, again, would be you've got to get to a professional rider or a rider that's up there and has a lot of experience, because you can only go so far doing it yourself. You have to then get some advice, and even those top guys, they sometimes come out of the ring and go, oh, what did I do there, what did I do there, because you can't do everything yourself. You need a second set of eyes, a second opinion, and especially from ponies to horses, that's such a different move. Ponies are very, very different to the horses. You have to ride them completely differently. So I think you've got to go to someone who knows what they're doing, go to a professional, and hopefully you can learn a bit off them in time.
Who's your favourite horse? If you're allowed favourites.
My horses? No, I can't have favourites. I think if I do that, then I lose confidence in the ones that are my favourites. So yeah, I've got to keep them all neutral. They're all spoiled just the same. So.
Favourite horse of yours, as you mentioned, but what about other horses? Are there any others on the show jumping circuit today that you look up and think, wow, that is incredible?
I think you've got to look at someone like Ben Mayer's Explosion, because that thing is just unbelievable.
Insane.
Yes. You don't really see anything like it. It's just got so much jump, so much scope, and a lot of aspects where all the top qualities of the top show jumper you need. It just blows everything else out of the water a bit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And in terms of riders, you mentioned Ben Mayer. Obviously, your parents are a massive part of inspiration in your life. But which other top riders do you look up to?
There's a sort of a wide range, and I think what I try and look at is you can learn so much from different riders, because no rider is the same. There's no one that rides in the identical style as someone else, and you can see that in the way the horses go, and you can tell that certain horses suit certain riders. And what I've tried to pick up just from watching those top guys is he rides that sort of horse that way, and then that sort of gets success. And you've got to sort of hopefully learn to adapt a bit to each horse. I suppose if you would name a single rider, Daniel Dorsey's a very good one.
Absolutely.
He sits so well on that, and I suppose he's a good one for me to look up to because he's quite tall.
Yeah.
But he just keeps his body so still. He's so soft with the horses, and shows that gets a real good tune out of them. But all those top riders, you can learn something from everyone, and the way they get them going, and how they develop certain horses in certain ways. You just learn so much from watching them.
And in terms of goals for you in the next, let's say, 5 years, and then looking well ahead into your senior, much more senior career, what are they? What are the goals?
Well, I don't want to set myself too specific goals because then you sort of get disappointed if you don't hit them. But I'd love in the next 5 years to, get on a senior Nations Cup team and be able to represent my country on that top level. That's definitely up there. I mean, in the long term, you've got to say something like an Olympics, don't you? Because that's the pinnacle of the sport, and you can't beat that sort of stage to jump on.
And what was it like for you growing up with your dad at the very top of the sport, going to Olympia, coming here to Horse of the Year show, and then travelling to some of the biggest events around the globe?
Yeah, it was brilliant, and I loved every minute of it. I love going to the shows, I love seeing the other riders, and hopefully seeing my dad have a bit of success there as well. And yeah, I've learned so much just from going to those shows, and the way you conduct yourself at the shows, having a system in a collector ring, not just the technical side of jumping, but you know, how you speak with people, how you deal with everyone at the show, and you know, try and be as polite as possible and get along with people, because you don't want to start falling out with sort of falling out with important people at shows. So yeah, I learned a lot of that from him, and trying to, you know, conduct yourself in the right manner.
Floss, any more social media questions?
Don't think so. Anybody else got a question in the crowd, maybe? Anything?
Anyone from the Pony Club want to ask anything? There we go, we found somebody. Someone's pointing towards someone. I'll pop down with the microphone. Either ask a question, or you can, whichever you prefer. Was it over here, the question? There you go.
Hi.
Which class would I most like to win? Well, certainly for me is, I think because of my dad, I'd love to win the King George V Gold Cup at Hickstead. That's got to be the one for me. Jumping in that main arena, it's such a special arena, and just for me personally, such a special class because it meant so much to my dad. That's always been my aim, and you know, I took a couple of horses there not so long ago, and I jumped them in that main ring, and you know, start to make a few plans on maybe, you know, this could be the one to do that job. And yeah, that's definitely the one for me at the minute, certainly.
And international competitions, international classes?
International classes. Just
Arca Grand Prix, maybe?
I mean, yeah, you got to. That's so tough there, and I think that's a real sort of tell for a classy rider and a great horse, because Arcan is a massive stage, and some of the fences there are just huge. I don't think you're going to jump a course, a Grand Prix course, any bigger than Arcan. So anyone that's, you know, even got round at Arcan Grand Prix, you've got to have huge respect for, because that is seriously tough there.
Any more questions? Anything about horses or anything like that? There we go.
Yeah, can I just ask if you could give us a typical day in the life of Joe Stockdale? What do you do after you get up in the morning?
Right, so when we're at home on day to day, we start on the yard at 7:30. All the horses get fed at 7:30. They then get mucked out, and then depending on how busy we are, if we're busy I'll ride a couple before breakfast, but if not, then they all start riding at 9. Once they've had their breakfast, that's all gone down. Start riding at 9. I'll try and get all my horses ridden before lunch, because that just means, you know, they can get, you know, groomed and everything, and you can do a few other odd jobs in the yard, because there's always stuff to be, you know, keeping on top of grass to cut and things like that. So typically I'll ride. I've been quite busy recently, but you know, ride hopefully 5 before 1 o'clock on the yard. Don't try and ride too many, because I think if you start sort of riding 7 or 8 on a day, then you lose a bit of focus, and by the time you're on the last one, you're so tired that you actually you're not giving it the proper work it needs, and actually you sort of don't give it as much. You don't teach it as much as you should do. So I try and ride 5 before 1 o'clock, and then all of our horses get groomed, bathed, clipped, no matter what it is. Obviously, if they're going to a show, they get clipped and bathed and all nice and clean the day before. But they always get groomed after they've been ridden, so there aren't any skin rashes or, you know, sweat left on them. And then all in the afternoon, they either go out in the field or on the walker, because I don't want them to get any lactic acid in their muscles or get stiff. So they just have a walk or go out in the field in the afternoon, just loosen off and keep hopefully their joints and their muscles as loose as they can, so they can perform as best as possible, really.
Laura, Joe's mum, does he actually get up that early in the morning? He does, okay. We just thought we'd check. Anyone have a question about the foundation or the work they're doing, how you can get involved? Anything from that side of things?
I think there was a couple of the questions in there somewhere.
Raise your hand. There was 1 or 2 from that corner that had questions, I think. There was definitely one over here. There we go, right on the end. Over to you.
What was some of your favourite memories about your games?
Mountain games. Well, I was quite young when I first started. I remember going to a lot of cold events when I was really little on my little pony and being absolutely freezing. But I quite like being in a team and be able to, ride in a team and compete that way. And actually, for me, I liked a lot of other sports, and I think mountain games incorporates that. It's a lot of hand-eye, and the throwing and the cups and all those different races. There's a lot of variety to it. So yeah. There's a lot of good memories. I think I made some great friends in the mountain games team, and I always really enjoyed it. But then things just went the other way of show jumping for me, and that's what I sort of pursued.
Anyone else got any questions at all?
Question just over here. There you go.
If you couldn't be a show jumper, what would you be?
Well, I played a lot of cricket. I tried to do alright at cricket. I played for Northants and things, so I think I definitely would have, hopefully, gone down the cricket route had I not chosen show jumping in the end, because I really enjoyed that, and I played a lot, so yeah, I'd have to say cricket. That would be my go-to sort of backup.
Not dressage.
Not dressage for me, no. That one time eliminated, that's put me off now.
That was your career over at that point, was it?
It was a short career, started and finished in about 20 minutes. So.
Fantastic. Anybody else? There we go. It is good exercise, this, I tell you that.
When's your next big show?
My next big show. So I don't actually have anything planned for at least a couple of weeks after this. These two that I've got here are probably going to have a week or two off. They're going to have a week in the field and just rest after this big show. But then I'll probably be heading off to sort of France or Belgium and a couple of those indoor shows over there, hopefully. I'll either be taking these two, or I've got a good set left at home, and there's some really good horses left there. So yeah, nothing in the diary just yet, but I'll have some plans soon enough.
Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, what this family have done for the future development of our sport and all sports is simply magnificent. Could you please put your hands together as loud as you can and show your appreciation for the wonderful work of the Tim Stockdale Foundation, Joe Stockdale and Floss James. So now what we want to do is give you an opportunity to come up onto the stage, have a chat with Joe, have a chat with Floss. Any questions you have about them, about the sport, about anything to do with the charity, please come up. If you want anything signed, Joe, we have to do some signings as well. Photos, absolutely anything. If you form a queue over here, come on the stage. Once you've seen Joe and Floss and anything else you want, pop over and head off that way. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, please show your appreciation. It's simply fantastic.